Nice to see everybody.
Yeah.
How you doing?
And Greg and Wade, hello, and Heidi. Okay.
Wade's here too this
and
week.
Wilbur
Good.
up in Maine, okay. And
Yay.
Vincent, Ao Chung, okay.
Wow, Wilbur, that is so beautiful where you are.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. Nice to see everyone. Heidi, you actually there?
I think everybody's rolling one up.
All right.
Really... Yeah, right, right,
Okay.
Exactly.
I got one pre-rolled actually, so.
Always
Exactly.
ready.
Yeah, right.
Hey, and Ed, I love that picture of you outside of Harborside. That was way cool.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed you guys. I thought I seen on the Instagram it was the same day, and I thought how funny I'd run across you guys, you know, maybe in Oakland or something. But it was on my travels, and I had to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we
No,
will
that
be
was
doing
great.
an
Hi,
in-store
Heidi.
there later in the month somehow. We'll be back down at Harborside for an in-store demonstration. Yeah.
There's Heidi. Hello, Heidi. Heidi ho. And there's Colin, our guest today. All
Hello.
right. Nice to meet you,
Colin.
Hi.
Oh, yeah. I can see why they say you and Jack look like brothers.
That's right. I have to put the hat on to tell me apart from him and I, because he doesn't have a hat in
Yeah.
school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the red beer contingent, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
Exactly.
That's it. How are you guys today?
We're doing great. We're doing great. It's kind of cold up here in the mountains
It's really
today.
cold and windy.
Yeah.
I had to put my
Cold and
long
windy,
johns
huh?
back on. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds nice. I miss the cold.
Really? Oh, because you're down south, right?
Yeah.
I'm in San Diego where it's 65 degrees one day and then it's 102 the next. You never know what you're going to get.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I bet it's beautiful there, though.
It is. It is beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. And
Is
what's
this
it like
okay
in the
if-
city?
Can I
For
turn
Greg
this
and
this
Heidi,
way?
It's
Oh,
gorgeous.
yeah.
That works.
It's gorgeous and warm in the city. Really?
It's freezing.
Freezing,
And the
like
wind
up
is
here.
very strong.
Yeah. Oh God, that wind, it's been so crazy down there. I've heard. Yeah.
But that's fire danger also. So they'll probably be doing blackouts for various, areas that have a lot of wind.
Yeah. The wind is scary right now, this time of day. What's it like in Nevada County, Wade? Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, it's cold. We had hail a little while ago and some rain.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
Cold and overcast here.
Wow. You had rain. Imagine that. Wow.
It's May.
That's nice.
Yeah,
I've
But
been
it-
rained on.
Supposed to rain.
not much of it, but yeah, it rained.
Wow. You're
I'm
lucky.
camping over Memorial Day weekends and gotten rained out in California.
Yeah. We actually had snow up here one year on Memorial Day weekend, but not this year.
No.
This year it's bone dry, bone dry. Well, I'm really looking forward to today's talk with Colin. I think, and thanks to Jack for introducing us to Colin. It sounds like he's got an incredible story. Looking forward to
you.
hearing this, Colin. Yeah.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be
Definitely.
here. I'm in awe of all of your of all that you guys do and have done for the community that I hold dear to my heart. So it's really a privilege to be here with you guys.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
thanks. Yeah, it's a very special community. It's interesting to hear how you came to it. So maybe you can kind of share a lot of your story with some people here about how you came to this, and because you didn't actually start off as a pothead, right?
Born and raised a pothead, if I'm honest, but I didn't know the
Oh,
powers of
okay.
it. I just, was in Los Angeles smoking weed because it was around, But yeah, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Colin Wells. I am a human being, and I was born and raised in Los Angeles, amidst the entertainment community. My mother's a screenwriter director, and grew up in the theater, doing a lot of that stuff. And bear with me, my story has some sad parts, but I hurt my knee at a very young age and got addicted to opiates very early on in life, around like 18 years old. And it just, I kept having knee surgery after knee surgery, which, we can get into that the medical field of this country on another talk. But yeah, I had lots of surgeries, lots of opiates given to me, just, without any regard for the crippling addictive properties of them. And then I bounced around most of my adult life in that vein, just, abusing drugs, thieving to get drugs, manipulating my soul and my integrity in order to feed that dependence. And after several years of that, it finally snowballed to a suicide attempt, which was, I took a lot of Xanax one night, and I was alone in my apartment, and I had a gun, and I had the gun to my head, and at the last minute I put the gun to my leg and pulled the trigger on my leg, and I actually shot my leg, and my calf, right through the muscle, and luckily it didn't hit the bone. And I've been doing a lot of reflective work on that moment in my life, and I know now that it was my ego reaching out for attention, and it wasn't really a true wish to die. It was more of, if I'm hurt in this severe of a manner, I can get the drugs that I want and get the sympathy that I want, and people aren't going to bat an eye at my bad behavior. It's going to wash that all away, because I'm going to get people to feel bad for me. And it worked really well for that for a bit. But obviously it was a dark moment, and I got worse. And literally about 13 months later, I decided, well, I'm just going to join the military. And so I joined the U.S. Army infantry in late 2008. Well, early 2008, I went to basic training late 2008 in Fort Benning, Georgia. And within 6 months of that, I was deploying to Afghanistan with a Stryker Brigade combat team out of Joint Base Lewis McChord to Helmand Province during one of the deadliest times over there. I spent a year in Afghanistan from 2009 to 2010 with a very forward-moving unit. A lot of violence. There was we were in a lot of heavy battles. The Battle of Marja. It was a tough year to be in Afghanistan. There was a lot of moral injuries, a lot of compromising of my integrity. When I got out, when I got back from from Afghanistan to the States, I found that all that depression and addiction that I had carried with me in the military hadn't gone anywhere. It was just kind of pushed down, and then I've shoveled trauma and moral injury and watching my buddies die and all these terrible things on top of that. And so it came bubbling to the surface again. And I went back to opiates. It's my drug of choice, clearly. And we all know how readily available they were, especially for privileged men like myself. And so I was able to talk doctors into giving me them and get the VA to give me them. And then eventually I turned to heroin, and that got really bad for a bit. And I promise you there's some light at the end of the tunnel. And then I went to the VA to seek treatment. And at the VA, I lived on the VA campus in West Los Angeles for 11 months total, 5 months at substance abuse treatment, and 6 months at combat trauma treatment. And they basically chewed me up and spit me out. I was there for 11 months, doing a little better. I was on a lot of pharmaceuticals, Lexapro, beta blockers for nightmares, which is crazy. I had to be on methadone in order to be there. So I was on methadone maintenance at the time. And I got in an argument with a roommate one night on a Saturday when they had a skeleton crew, and they decided that our screaming fight, mind you, these are combat veterans, God forbid we scream at each other every now and then. We started screaming at each other, and they booted me out. Right then and there, I became basically a homeless veteran and retreated into the woods, into nature, the Santa Monica Mountains in particular. And that's when I found cannabis. And there was a dispensary there, 99 High Tide, that had very expensive cannabis. So I would scrounge up what money I could and buy cannabis and go into the woods, and got better and got back on methadone maintenance, and eventually came to a place where I was stable enough to be allowed back to live with my mother, lived with my mom, continued the methadone maintenance, continued the cannabis, got a job at REI. Then I started to really heal in a lot of ways. I started to get back to the things I enjoyed, which was nature and engaging with people and helping my community. And so I got off the methadone maintenance with the help of cannabis, which is something I'm very passionate about in my own right, given the opiate crisis that we're still under. Cannabis was absolutely paramount in my ability to wean off of that maintenance protocol. And luckily I had therapists who were willing to work with me in that. And then I started smoking a lot of weed in the woods, as one does, and found that it was really helping me, and decided to use the tool of social media to sing it and say, hey, listen, I smoke weed and I hike. If are there any other veterans in this area that wants to go smoke weed and hike, we could go do that. And people started showing up, like, a lot. And then I met the Beard Brothers, and the Beard Brothers graciously gave me the most ridiculous amount of cannabis I'd ever seen at the time. And, like ranch dressing infused with weed, and, shatter I'd never seen dabs before in my life. And they said, here, take this, give it away to your brothers and sisters, and go hike. And so I did. I said, come hike. And I split it up into 10 packs, and I gave it out. And I said, this is awesome. These people are thriving from this. I could do this all the time. And so I did. I started doing it all the time. And more and more people started showing up. I got more cannabis sponsors to feed that need, to that desire. And from there, I started picking up veterans at homeless shelters and shelters that I'd been to, rehab facilities that I knew were I was treated at the VA very poorly. And I started taking them hiking and giving them weed. And then I took them to feed the homeless, and we would go feed the homeless, and we would shower the homeless together, and we would cut their hair. And we did so much outreach work in Skid Row and downtown LA. And all the veterans that were coming to this group were like coming out thriving and taking this selfless service aspect of what it really means to serve your country, rather than just shooting at unknown people. This is actual service. And it was empowering all of us to heal and heal and heal. And so I just kept doing it. And, it's been 5 years now. In the last 2 years, we've implemented a psychedelic protocol with fungal medicines and plant medicines, where we have a network of facilitators who help our group out to do that. And I now am, I grow mushrooms of all kinds, lion's mane, reishi. I grow therapeutic mushrooms as well, and I homogenize them myself. I've been doing it for a long time, oftentimes with San Pedro cactus as well. And I make capsules for the veterans who come hike with me, absolutely free. And every veteran who comes hikes with me gets a 2-week supply of those capsules so they can microdose these medicines. And we're now at a place where we have 500 active members. And on Sunday, this Sunday, May 23rd, we have Veterans Walk and Talk Day. Veterans Walk and Talk is the name of my group. And we're launching in 11 new cities: Oahu, Hawaii, Chicago, Illinois, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Dallas, Texas, Austin, Texas, St. Louis, Missouri, all over the country, and bringing what we do to the places that need it the most. And, yeah, I'm proud to say that I have 4 children now and a beautiful wife and a home and a dog named Hashish. And I'm the happiest and most fulfilled man I could have ever imagined I'd be right now, thanks to all these medicines and that healing journey. Was that good enough intro? I hope I didn't go too far.
That's totally awe-inspiring,
Incredible.
truly amazing.
Incredible.
And-
My first question is, Colin, do the veterans, like does veteran hospitals, et cetera, do they know that you're doing this? And if so, what do they think about it?
I've been chased off of a few campuses, no question. So I am very discreet. I am very careful with the veterans who are actively still in a treatment program. So if you're a veteran and you decide to go to get treatment at the VA, there's several ways you can go about that. Some of them require drug testing, some of them don't. So I just make it very clear, if you're being drug tested, you know, this isn't the right group for you. If you're not being drug tested, they, especially with cannabis and psilocybin, they can't test for that. So it's not really been an issue. But I try to keep a lower profile now that my profile is higher. Now that more people know about what I'm doing,
Yeah,
I'm a little bit, you know, I'm so overt, I'm covert is my motto.
I agree with that. Actually, that's one of the reasons we started to really be public about cannabis. You know, I just figured that the more public and the more obvious you are, it's harder them to throw you away, you know? And so
Yes.
you have your, and also, you know, it's just the support base that you get. You know, one of the things that keeps us going is just the people come up and say, wow, man, thanks for what you do. And so I just want to say thank you, man, for everything that you've been doing. You know, heal yourself first and then share that healing is a tremendous message that we need to have everybody share. So
I
yeah.
completely agree with you. That's the Veterans Walk and Talk motto, is heal yourself to heal others. Healed people heal people. You know, it's a cyclical butterfly effect that we see within the community, and we've grown to a place now that we don't really discriminate. It's our group's open to anyone, veteran, not veterans, anyone, any
Yeah.
human being that wants to come and share in our mission is welcome at this point. And it's been very, very profound, affected a lot of good
Interesting.
people. Yeah.
There's a strange irony. I've been reading about the history of cannabis, and the history of cannabis is something that's been hidden to us for many, many years. It's been, you know, we've been lied to about it for so long. But I was reading about the medical uses, and back in the Roman times, the Roman army, they had a doctor with them and named Galen, and he wrote this book of formulas, and like there's about 100 formulas in there that use cannabis. And this was the Roman army, and he traveled all over with them. And that was one of the main healing methods that they used. And so it's like 2000 years ago, and, you know, we're still trying to catch up with that. So it's really crazy.
It is crazy. And I'm with you on that. I mean, I'm a student of all things plant and fungal medicine, even chemical teachers. I call them teachers, chemical, fungus, and plant teachers. I've journeyed in the last few years with nearly every modality you can think of outside of ibogaine. So ayahuasca, sassafras, wachuma cactus was profoundly healing for me. And I've been recently doing high dose mushroom journeys on native land with Kwai-Kachim natives. And that's been absolutely, you know, so many doors within me have opened up. My meditative practice has become something that is, you know, profoundly healing for me. And, you know, so we're moving into all these new areas of sharing, but to come back to your point of why the history of these things are so hidden from us is, you know, one, because the people that a lot of the colonizers of this country in particular were trying to oppress were using these things, and we saw them as threats, so we didn't want them to have them. And then also, you know, for me, I'm not a proponent of war. I went there, I was a stormtrooper, and now I'm a reformed stormtrooper. And my whole aspect towards all of that is, for the veteran community in particular, they don't want us talking about the histories of these things, how much they've impacted our society with all the way from psychedelics impacting Christianity through Eleusis and the entire Western civilization and all these things. They don't want us talking about that because it's easier to control us if we're eating McDonald's and watching war movies and all that stuff. So to your point as well about like VA seeing me as a threat, hospital seeing me as a threat, yeah, definitely, because any veteran like myself who's outspoken about the atrocities that we are committing on behalf of capital gains is a threat to the status quo. And these medicines are by far and away the biggest teachers of that kind of truth. And veterans who come to that kind of truth are enlightened and want to change the way things are. And veterans have a unique ability to do that because we can cross both sides of the aisle politically as well. So that's where we're moving forward. I'm trying to shepherd that in.
Yeah, well, there's an old bumper sticker we used to have called "Question Authority," and that's one of the things that cannabis enables you to do. And of course, that's exactly what they don't want you to do in the Army. And so it's like that cultural clash there, and it's just an amazing thing. It's interesting. Both Nikki and I have been to Afghanistan, but many years. Yeah, many years ago, when there was still a king there in the late 70s, and went through there on my way to India. I was traveling overland from Amsterdam and so on. And I say the Afghani people I thought were some of the noblest people that we met, but they had traditions and rituals that went back thousands of years. And they had a real sort of, the clan feeling there, and just a really great people. And of course, they had the amazing hash, the chadas that they had, which did you do much of that? When did you do hash in Afghanistan when you were there?
Yes, 100,000%. Yes. Yes. I have the honor of saying I have hotboxed a $1.2 million vehicle before. I don't know if anyone can top that.
Okay. So I took a bus from Kabul to Bandi Amir, all the way into the center of the country, in the chain of lakes and so on, and the place where the Buddhas were carved into the sides of the hills. And it was actually kind of a moment of peace right then, that we were able to travel all through Afghanistan.
Yeah, that was right before the Russians came in. It was the
1970s, maybe 1970s.
Exactly. Yeah,
wow.
Exactly. So Colin, I have a question for you that I would like to ask. Why is it you have not done ibogaine? Do you have any reason for that in particular?
No, I have definitely opened my heart to it when it finally. I have all my medicines here in my altar here. I love to show off my altar. I got my little mushroom in there. So this is all my medicines are right here. Just but I have ibogaine eye drops in the form of Sananga, which I've been using on my eyes. And it's been incredibly helpful for my allergies and for sharpening my adrenal functions. And so I have had this form of it. But as far as iboga goes, so the medicine men that I work with personally, I'm not a facilitator of these medicines, just to be clear. I am a student of them, and I am happily facilitated upon, and I give microdose capsules, but I am in no way, shape, or form a facilitator of these things. But in the people that I study under and learn from, ibogaine is something that needs to be done very, very carefully. And so I'm waiting for it to find me, much like I did ayahuasca. I never sought out ayahuasca. I waited until it was on my doorstep and saying, here, I have this perfect scenario for you to come to ayahuasca. And that's what worked out for me the best. But I will share an anecdote about my medicine man friend, Pablo, who talks about ibogaine. And he facilitates many different medicines, heart, spirit, mind, body medicines, anything from white lily and sassafras to psilohuasca and psilocybin and ayahuasca. And he, in his journeying space, asked basically grandmother ayahuasca, should I carry ibogaine? And he tells me he was visited by Ibogaine or Iboga and told that if you were to start carrying Iboga and facilitating it for other people, you can't do any of these other medicines. You have to give them all up because I'm the king. I'm the king medicine. That's what Iboga told him. So he humbly said, well, what I'm doing is working, and so I won't go there. And so for me, Iboga, hearing that from him and all my different studies, and I don't know as much about Iboga as I do the other ones, but I do know that Iboga is not a traditional psychedelic. It's more of a dream maker, I guess you would call it. And
Right.
and so that's something that, again, if it finds me one day, it finds me. But at this point, you know, I've done so much journeying, particularly in the last year, that I'm really in integration mode. I'm really in the mode where I'm learning to process that stuff rather than go back to it constantly.
Right.
My last
Yeah.
journey was, yes, go ahead, Nikki.
I was just going to say, it sounds like you don't actually even need it anymore, but I did we've gotten a couple of questions here from people in the rooms asking, what is this drug we're talking about? A lot of people don't know what Iboga or Ibogaine is. It's a vine. Is it a vine from Africa or a root?
It's
I
a
can't
root.
remember.
It is a root.
root.
Let me get my book.
Okay, it's a root from Africa, and it's really, it's a very heavy psychedelic trip, not necessarily something you want to do for a good time, but it is something that you can do to get over absolutely, from what I hear, any kind of addiction, whether it's addictive drugs, whether it's food addiction, sex addiction, any sort of addiction, alcohol that you might have. You can do this, and you only have to do it really once, from what I hear. And it just takes away your desire to have those addictions. Now, why this is not being promoted in this country when there's such a problem is beyond me. But I guess because the pharmaceutical companies are probably very intimidated by it. But we have seen it work personally on some young people that we've known that had issues, and it's unbelievable what it's done, where it's just absolutely cured them of any sort of addiction problems. And then when you combine it with cannabis, so I know your friend said not to combine it, but these guys were, there's some people that showed up here at our ranch, and they had done Ibogaine on their own before to get over addiction problems. They got to our ranch, we put them to work, just like happened to you in boot camp, Colin. I get that. The physical labor really helps to overcome addictions, and cannabis. All the cannabis they could smoke, we would give them. And that combination, they've never gone back to what they were doing before.
It allows your brain to rewire and reprogram. It kind of gives you an opportunity for a blank slate from what we've been told. But I want to ask another question about, you mentioned San Pedro. And San Pedro is one of my very favorites. And what is your take on San Pedro?
San Pedro, grandfather. I have so many of them growing. This right here is the one that I ate. This is the tip of it left, and I'm growing it back out. And you can see I have my crystals, the 4 directions in there. So that is the cactus I ate. I ate about 2.5 foot of it, processed down into a juice. This was the autumnal equinox of 2020, sorry. Oh wait, was it 2019? It was one of those years. Time is irrelevant. But no, I was coming to the space of trying these things, and I don't recommend this for the average person, but I am one to try these things in massive amounts and oftentimes alone. Recently, I've started working with medicine men and shamans and natives that are facilitating for me. But before that, I was just like, I'm going to go try these things. So one day I woke up and I was growing this cactus, a shepherd of the forest, I call him. My friend Taylor gave it to me. And I was growing it, and I just looked out the window, and it just said, it's time. And I went, and I instinctively, from my studies, processed it down for 24 hours. I skinned it, I cored it, I blessed it for long time. I prayed over it. And I processed it down into a juice, and I woke up the next morning having fasted the whole day, and I took my dog Hashish into the woods near a river, and I drank the juice that I made, and that was the first time I was shown the interdimensional ways of being. I remember standing at the top of a waterfall and vomiting into the water. I had taken all my clothes off at this point, and I had vomited into the water, and I came up, and I liken it to people in movies and stories that when you like travel through a portal, you often see the people in the story or the movie, and they're like, oh, disoriented, maybe throwing up. That's what happened to me. I threw up, and I went through a portal, and I came out, and I could see the writing on the walls, and I could read the rocks, and I could touch a tree, and I could download everything that tree had ever seen, from a sapling to the tree it was, like every hiker that peed under it, every deer that was eaten under it, everything all at once. And I would lay on a rock and become the rock, and just all these magnificent things. And then my time in Afghanistan came flooding forward to me. Like, I felt like such a warrior, and other times I felt like a goddess. I remember very much standing on top of the rocks, feeling very feminine and goddess-like. I was very goddess-like in this moment. And then all of a sudden, Afghanistan came rushing into my soul and into my mind. And I remember climbing to the top of the rock that I was kind of lurking around. I get goosebumps talking about it. And I remember screaming at the top of my lungs, Afghanistan, just the word Afghanistan. And then I would go, Afghanistan, and like pronounce every last syllable. And as I did that, blackness just poured out of my mouth and just poured into the sky. And the trees above me pierced it, and it dissolved further, and it turned into spiders, and I just, Afghanistan, and I purged all of that out. And I didn't come out of those woods healed from everything I did and saw in Afghanistan, but that is the day, the autumnal equinox, that I remember distinctly coming to a place of starting to really accept that it had happened and brought me to where I am, and being able to let it go. So I agree with you, brother. San Pedro Wachuma speaks to my heart, man, to my heart.
Wow, that's
it's
quite
so
an
powerful.
experience.
Yes.
Yeah, really powerful stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah, I
Really
find
is.
that with San Pedro, it's a clarity you get, and you
Yes.
get vision. But even the reality around you has an extra sharp focus, and it seemed to me you saw the spaces between that
Right.
were still alive in a way, and then to have those visions and see that those are things that are gifts from the cosmic energy flowing through, but not everyone's ready to accept them. And so
I
when they
agree.
come in, and just so that's a beautiful vision. Thank you.
Well, as Aldous Huxley says in Doors of Perception, you have to submit to the suchness of mescaline, of San Pedro. You have to, all these things, it really is it's about submission to the greatness, the suchness, the isness of it all. That's why meditation is the biggest practice in all of this, in my opinion. And if anybody's watching this thinking about doing these things, meditation, if you're not meditating, you'll be all right either way. Medicine will take care of you, but that sets you up for success and allows you to submit, like you said so perfectly.
Interesting. So when you go on your walk and talks with a group of people, are you doing anything other than walking, talking, and smoking weed? Do you stop and meditate at some points or do anything like that?
Yes, and so everybody's usually on. My group is so great. They're the most beautiful, wonderful. I say my group, our group is so beautiful and wonderful, and just the most made up of the most diverse and amazing people you'll ever meet. And I provide them with the San Pedro and psilocybin microdose capsules. the capsules that I make are mixed with or homogenized with cordyceps, lion's mane, reishi, spirulina, vitamin D, ginkgo biloba, just I have all different kinds that I make, and then of course psilocybin and San Pedro. So yeah, some of them I give them a 2-week supply and they take 5, and then some of them take 1. And so I don't really dictate once I give them to you, they're yours. And so yeah, there's all kinds of opportunity for not just powerful discussion, but silence and meditation and integration is a big thing that we do, and we are going to continue to do on the hikes. You climb up to a tall peak somewhere and facilitate an integration, integration coaching circle, discussing psychedelic journeys, discussing meditation, these things. That's something that we find to be very, very powerful. And then, a lot of times we do 7-8 mile hikes and they're tough as hell and no one wants to talk or meditate at all. And the walking in it is meditation in and of itself. These are 20 to 30 oftentimes disabled. I'm a disabled veteran. Disabled veterans pushing themselves to limits they often haven't reached. And once they're the walking and talking the walking in and of itself is a meditative state, because you're 3 miles in and all of a sudden you're talking to me who you've never met before, and we are discussing a trauma that you've been through that you've never even really spoken about, because you're fuck it, yeah, this happened, yeah, wait, did I just say that? And then they're on their way. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's very impressive that now you have it in all these other cities as well. And so, but it seems like, is there a structure without a structure? Is there some sort of organization, or how does it happen that you get a new chapter, so to speak, in some other place?
Well, luckily that's a great question. And thank you for asking it, because we're work in progress in that vein, very much so. But luckily we have amazing administrative workers who are working volunteer hours. My wife, Cookie, is a Navy veteran and a Cuban immigrant, and amazing at all of this, organization. And she has helped me and us bring this to a place where it can be replicated. And then we have our fiscal nonprofit sponsor, which is called A Future for Vets, A Future for Veterans, which is focused on community outreach programs like mine, and also sustainability housing through horticulture therapy, permaculture therapy, mushroom mycology therapy done in-house where veterans are living. So with all those powers combined, we are bringing this to a place of organization that I think is replicable. What we do, what I've done for 5 years is and with all your travels, meeting so many amazing people, I'm sure, I meet doctors and things like that who want to involve themselves, and I always tell doctors, I say, doc, I could go to school and learn anatomy and learn biology and learn everything that but there is no school that I can send you to teach you what I've learned for 5 years doing this. So that's on me to find a way to put that down on a standard of procedure and find a way to train people. We're looking into buying land and retreat spaces that we can take leaders from all over the country to one place, and we can teach them this way of healing. Because I very much pride myself on being good at this. I haven't been good at much in my life. You heard my story. I'm really good at this, and I'm a key holder. And with Veterans Walk and Talk, what I do as the key holder is I walk next to Samuel and I listen to Samuel, and Samuel tells me all about being a iron worker and how he loves to work with iron and all this stuff. And then I walk with Melissa, and Melissa tells me that she's building her house for the first time and needs some work done on it. And then I kind of bring them together and say, iron worker, meet house builder, work together. And I move them aside, and then I do it with the next people and the next people. And so that's been a great privilege and skill set that I've developed. And so the next step is to empower more leaders to do what I have done for 5 years in a replicable way. So that's something we're working on very diligently.
Yeah. Well, I just had this picture of a walk and talk all the way to Washington, D.C.
Yes.
And to and have people join this parade. I mean, not necessarily literally walk, but have everybody, as they come in from Dallas, they come in from St. Louis, and they end up in Washington, and right on the steps of Congress, they say, give us our medicine. Give us our medicine. It's immoral for a government to hold the best medicine back from its warriors, right? And so I think you've got a grassroots thing happening that has a power to it, and just let it percolate, let it grow a little more, and that'll spontaneously happen.
That's a great idea. And Veterans Walk and Talk is active in legislation. We have been for years now. I've been to the Senate in Washington, D.C. twice to speak on behalf of cannabis, to House committees on VA, medicinal marijuana, all these things. That's a brutal endeavor. I'll just tell you that. And we have been on the forefront of State Bill 519 here in California, which actually we found out today is moving to the Senate for an actual vote after passing all three committees: public health, public safety, and now appropriations committee, which will decriminalize. Basically, I give out mushrooms for free. It would make what I do legal. I would not legal, but decriminalized. I would no longer be an outlaw for giving out medicine. So it's a big deal for us, and it's moving forward. And you're absolutely hit it on the head. That's something that we are going to be doing in the next few years, is actively advocating for what's helping us in powerful ways.
Right. There's another veteran I've gotten to know lately, Michael Kravitz. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's been working on the international level. He was at the World Health Organization and at the United Nations, pushing them forward to recognize cannabis as a traditional medicine. And he lives in Virginia right now, and he's also very active in many other things. And so he's been working with us on our Origins Council and our environmental work here in California and so on. So someday I want to I was hoping he would come on the sesh today, but I guess he got very busy back east. But I want you two guys to connect because there's a lot common there.
Please, I would love to meet him.
I have a question. Would you say that I'm very interested in how these things can cure addiction, especially, and PTSD, et cetera. Would you say that there's certain forms that are better than others? Is smoking better? Is tincture, edibles, or does it matter? Do you have any preference on that?
I am of the opinion that cannabis alone will not cure addiction. It will help alleviate the symptoms of it. The cure lies in oneself and acceptance and journeying inward, which is why the plant medicines and chemical teachers work so powerfully to rewire the brain, create new brain cells, create so for me, for instance, cannabis was paramount in alleviating the withdrawal symptoms I was going through while weaning off methadone. I mean, literally, I had gone through being sick off opiates in every possible way you can think of. And when I used cannabis, Rick Simpson oil, we still give out free cannabis through Veterans Walk and Talk and all kinds. We all know full spectrum oil, Rick Simpson oil, to be very powerful medicine. It alleviated all of that. But at the root of what I was going through was inadequacy. It was physical pain. It was traumas. It was divorced parents, all that stuff. And so I'm a big believer that once you start diving inward and plant medicine and fungus medicine and chemical teachers are a great way to kickstart that. You start to, like PTSD, for instance, there is no cure for PTSD. No one will ever be cured of post-traumatic stress. A disorder, maybe you could alleviate the disorder, but post-traumatic stress in and of itself is incurable. To use the word cure is doing it a disservice, because there's acceptance of trauma. There's not curing of it. Curing of it would mean to go back to the source and erase it altogether. The people that I harmed in Afghanistan, that would no longer be it would no longer be. The guys I lost, they'd be alive. This is impossible. But what is possible is knowing that everything that I had to go through in order to be the man I am today had to happen. And I accept that. And I will not punish myself for it anymore. That is the closest thing you can get to alleviating PTS. And that's what works for veterans, in my opinion. And I'm not a doctor.
No, that's brilliant insight, I think. And I think I'm very happy you brought up meditation too, because, okay, there's cannabis to alleviate some of the symptom and so on. And then there's the inner journey with the plant and fungal medicines to kind of start rewiring. But the meditation is the daily thing. And that's when you rewire the brain with conscious action, with conscious thought. It's not just that you're kind of clearing the cobwebs or whatever it is out. You're now creating new mental pathways with the visualizations that your meditation requires. And so that's the process of creating a new state of mind through meditation. And like you said, the psychedelics in whatever form they are the start of it. And they are like clearing the decks and so on. And then the rest of it you build through daily meditation. And as a lot of, as the Grateful Dead would say, and acts of kindness, being kind is like, that seems to be one of your secrets with the people that you walk. You just
Yes.
be kind and listen. You be kind and listen, and so many people are just starving for that acceptance.
You're 100% right. Be kind to yourself, and live truthfully. That's the biggest thing. Just live a truthful existence, and everything else falls into place. And that's speaking from a novice meditator who's literally just starting to come to a place where I'm really starting to understand it in a true sense. And I can't sing its praises enough. Cold therapy, meditation, willful discomfort, I call it. That's what I call all these things that I do. It's willful discomfort. You take the power back from being uncomfortable, and you realize that you're capable of anything. I have 3 children in my home now, and 1 child in North Carolina who I don't see very much of because of these choices, which is a whole other story. But my 8-year-old, just the other day, we had a mice problem in the garage, and he was terrified to go in there and wouldn't go in there because of mice. And I brought him in there, and it's very touching to me, because we did breathing exercises together. I stood him in front of me and we breathed together, and I said, I want you to meditate on your fear right now. And I want you to say out loud, I will master my fear so my fear doesn't master me. And he's crying and crying, and he's saying, I will master my fear. And then by the end of it, he's screaming it. And I had never seen such an immediate transformation before in my life. These tools are so powerful. I watched him. His brain is a sponge. They're children, and God bless them for having that ease. But I just watched him rewire right in front of me. And it was such a reminder to me that I'm capable of these things, to see him do it so efficiently and just with just affirmation. And so, yeah, I'm any veteran that ever sees this, any veteran that I ever talk to, we are far more capable and spiritual and connected than we ever thought we were. And that once you tap into that, the potential is limitless. Truly, I feel limitless. I do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read something in the story on the Beard Brothers site. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
Was about exactly. That was mentioned how one day you just overcame your fear. It just sort of disappeared while you were in Afghanistan. I mean, why would you say that happened? What was the reason for that?
Oh man, that's a great question. So that overcoming of fear in Afghanistan was sheer numbness. Turned it off. Just doesn't, and that goes with, that's not just fear of being hurt, that's fear of hurting others. You know, I turned it all off, and I became an instrument of violence. And you know, I think that's a large part why I'm able to see the other side so well now, is because I saw that side so much. I was all the way over there in the violence. You know, I hurt dogs in Afghanistan. I watched children get hurt. I hurt people. I really hurt people, like affected generations of people that I never will see again or have any connection to, or any way to reach out and say, I'm sorry. I didn't know. You know, it's just, and so in order to, you know, I have moments where I look back and I go, wow, I wish I just would have thrown my gun down and walked into the desert and just sat there and just stopped, you know, but it's just not a reality. I was there. Yeah, I was under the guise of all the training I'd gone through, and, you know, all the lies and media that you're fed about war, and do your job and be a good soldier and get your guys home. And so when Jack talked about that in that article, that was very much a self-preservation form of getting rid of my fear. And I knew if I had no fear, I'd do better in war. And that's when it came flooding back when I got back, and I became very fearful, and which is why I turned right back to drugs.
Ah, interesting.
It's
Wow.
one of the things in the Indian polytheistic culture is that the gods and goddesses often have this gesture, and this gesture is called the freedom from fear. And it's also the bestowal of blessings. And in some way, the freedom from fear is one of the greatest blessings that you can receive. And it's an integral part of all these gods and goddesses and it's like, in a sense, you know that the divine energy has your back, right? That there's, you know, there always is the divine energy, and you're not separate from it, and therefore you're in it. And when you can take that from that divine witness, however it comes, then you carry on with fullness.
Yes, sir. I couldn't agree more. And that's perfectly summarizes what I feel now, as opposed to then where it was self-preservation, and now it's just, I do feel the divine in everyday life. I have the sacred in the mundane, so I have nothing to be fearful anymore. And I do feel that, and I'm practicing it constantly. So thank you. That spoke to me. I hear you on that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you're
good.
sharing it with your brothers and your sisters, and that's something that we as a culture really have to thank you for. That
Thank
you know,
you.
that you bring that sort of, you know, joy and love to the people that you walk with, and so on. And the healing is the crucial aspect. And you know, thank you so much.
Thank
So,
you for
Colin, I
saying
have,
that.
of the people that that you take on the walks and the people you've met and all that you've been doing I mean, I don't know if you could even guess this, but what percentage of homeless people are veterans, would you say?
I should know better, but I've heard numbers of upwards of 30 to 40% of homeless Americans are prior service. I know that in the Los Angeles area alone, there's thousands, and it's gotten worse in the last year with the pandemic. It's just gotten, like, you go outside of that VA that I lived at, and there's a thing called Tent City, and it's just veteran homeless encampment after veteran homeless encampment after, all veterans, flags out, Marine flags, all this stuff, just living right outside the VA where they're supposed to go to get help, because
Really?
no one knows how to help them anymore. But that being said, and I, you know, you can imagine that my thought process about these things is, it challenges a lot of veterans, and sometimes it's met with a lot of angst and anger towards me, because I'm supposed to be like, no, you're kill them all. That's how you're supposed to be as a veteran in this country. Drink beer, be proud of your service, but don't talk about it.
Huh.
So in that being said, veterans, we have to help ourselves. It's up to us. My good friend Ryan Miller, who runs a group called Operation EVAC, Operation Educating Veterans About Cannabis, out of the Bay Area, said very poignantly one day, the best way to help veterans is to stop creating more veterans. And so until we stop feeding that beast and stop like you'll help 10 veterans, 10 more come back. It's just this constant cycle.
Yeah.
So what I'm hoping to do with the work that and my writing, I'm a writer. I get that from my mother, and so my writing has gotten to a point where it's flowing out of me better, and I'm trying to do more speaking engagements and get the word out that this is the only way we're going to help. Like we have a mental health problem in this country outside of veterans. Then you throw veterans in the mix, and it's just awful. It's just unbearable almost. I could say, it's been a tough time the last few weeks. Even I lost a brother last week to his own hand. I lost another brother 2 weeks ago to his own hand. 2 in the last 2 weeks. I've had a candle lit in my house for 2 weeks straight because of these are guys who I didn't see it, and all of a sudden they're gone. I was in a very violent unit, the infantry unit in Afghanistan. My company, we lost 3 guys to an IED one night. Outside of that, we only had wounded. So we had 3 guys KIA'd. I have since lost 7 to suicide since coming home. That's,
Wow.
how do you reconcile that? You know what I mean? So, veterans, we got to help ourselves. We got to say no more of this shit. I have active duty friends still, and they're just not taken care of. They don't care what they have to do, and as long as they show up on time in uniform with a clean shave, they don't care if they're depressed, miserable, drinking, beating their wives, and neglecting their kids at home. And that's all got to change, because how are you going to be a good veteran if you're not a good soldier? How are you going to be a good soldier if you're not a good man, if you don't know how to be a good man, how to be a good woman, how to compartmentalize these things? So, I see a future for Veterans Walk and Talk. What my group does is where these medicines are no longer stigmatized, and that I can start working with active duty personnel 6 months to 8 months before their exit date. They start hiking, they start doing these integrative processes where it's not just, okay, your contract done, goodbye, good luck, have a nice career in whatever it is you're doing. No, it's come to the community, be of service, try these medicines, look inward, meditate. And then hopefully we can start to change that cycle and stop creating more traumatized veterans. That's the future I want.
Yes.
Yeah, really.
Wow.
Well, it's the future we need for this planet, that's for sure. Yeah,
I agree.
Wow. Well, it's wonderful that you've got a family now and everything's changing for you so much.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh, I am so blessed. Do you want to see? Can I show my baby to you? Can I show you my baby?
Yeah.
Okay, hold
Yeah,
on a
sure.
second.
Oh boy, we got a baby sighting today. This is rare.
I'm gonna bring her in there. I'm gonna show her off. All right, this is Willow Wells.
Hi, Willow.
Hello, Willow.
Hello.
Oh, okay.
Oh, what a
Yes.
cutie pie you are. Look at those big eyes.
Yeah, she's looking right at you
Willow,
guys.
you really are. You see us, huh?
Yeah,
You got a
hello.
She
good
does.
daddy.
Oh,
You're a
thank
lucky
you.
girl. You're a
Yeah.
lucky girl.
She's the
What a
best.
cutie. Oh
Yeah,
my God, you must be so happy.
she's
Yeah.
6
Look at
months
her.
and just a bundle. Yes, hi. Is Dada? Yeah.
Oh, how precious. That
I
is
know.
precious. I mean, that's why, it's just heartbreaking when you say all these people that have committed suicide, when you could have a baby like this beautiful child here, if
I
you just
know.
have faith in life. But I can see how when you've seen so much of darkness in life, you can tend to go that direction. So it's really about bringing people into the light and
Yes.
letting them realize that there's goodness around us, and we don't need to have the fear. So that's a huge thing to ask of people, though. It is enormous.
I
Yeah.
agree.
So
I agree.
I want to ask you if someone wanted to join one of your walk and talks, how would they go about doing that in some of the other cities and so on? Is there some central clearing connection or website or something?
Yes, and I see you have your baby now too. Yours is far
Yeah,
cuter.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think he stood up because you could hear Willow. I think his touchdown. That's
Yes,
amazing.
yes. Thank you for asking that. Yes, veteranswalkandtalk.com has sign up sheets for all our new chapters and membership forms. There's a donation button on there. We're actively fundraising right now, so if you feel compelled to donate, we could use that as well. But yeah, veteranswalkandtalk.com. It's a portal to everything, and then we have a store, VWAT, VWAT store, VWATstore.com, where we have some amazing t-shirts and cool stuff, mushroom t-shirts, cannabis t-shirts. I said a long time ago in a speech that cannabis is the great unifier, which I still believe cannabis to be the great unifier. So we have Cannabis the Great Unifier shirts, so you can support us by buying our shirts. But I strongly encourage anybody that ever wants to help our cause to come hike with us. That's first and foremost. The Beard Bros have hiked with us. Jack has hiked with us. Jack and I have fished together. That's the best way to come help our cause. And again, we are open to everyone. The services that I provide, the free medicine, the deeper journeying, those things are for veterans. But everybody is welcome to come to our hikes, no matter what. Universal love and acceptance. And the reason that I do that, there's a lot of veterans who have asked me, can you just close it off and just make just veterans? And I tell them, you can't do that in your real life. You can't just close the door to everyone who isn't like you or know you or seen the things you've seen. So in order to be part of Veterans Walk and Talk, there is a certain level of willful discomfort in what we do, where you have to be around the things that are challenging you. And so that's worked very well for us, and we're going to keep doing that. So yeah, veteranswalkandtalk.com. Come hike with us.
And Colin, do you ever grow your own cannabis to be able to share with people, or how do you get most of your donations?
Well, now in California, because of State Bill 34, that's mine. We do it through a dispensary, which is very cool. It used to be a lot more laxed, as I'm sure you all know, being in the cannabis space, and then compliance changed. And so then State Bill 34 passed, which we did help in Sacramento with going and speaking on its behalf. And so now donations are facilitated through companies who have their products on the shelves of dispensaries. And so what we do is we get a dispensary to basically let our members show up, and they show an ID and they get medicine through them. To your point of growing cannabis, I have worked on cannabis farms. I've traveled all over the country providing cannabis to veterans all over the country, and worked on cannabis farms myself. But growing cannabis is something that I haven't really dived into yet. I grow mushrooms, and that's kind of that's my vein. I love to grow mushrooms.
How does it work in some of these other states where you have the walk and talks going on that might not have the access to the cannabis we have here in California? So, or the mushrooms or anything else. So how are they dealing with that?
That's where I am. It's we call it guerrilla wellness. It's wellness at any cost. We do it from the shadows, whatever it takes. I lived in a van for the first 3 years that I ran Veterans Walk and Talk, and I would travel to Alabama and West Virginia and all these places, and I would bring medicine from California. So I've done that many times.
Yeah. Good,
Wow.
good.
That's freedom from fear right there. I have to say that's pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest with you. My skin tone and the veteran status got me out of a lot of jams. So, being a white dude who's a veteran, like, that was enough to get me out of a lot of jams. I'm not afraid to admit it. And but yeah, I mean, it's, you know, now, like, that's why I'm so adamant about legislation and making social sharing of psychedelics decriminalized, because I'm not interested in being a martyr for anything. I want to, you know, I'm sorry. I want to provide these things and do right by my family in the same sense. And I always say, you know, mushrooms don't know they're illegal. Cannabis doesn't know it's illegal. They're just here to help.
Right.
And so
Right. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
Really true. Wow.
No,
Amazing.
they also open the door to us to the other kingdoms, the plant kingdom, the fungus kingdom,
Yes, sir.
and so on. And by doing that, we also tune more into the plant at the animal kingdom. So those are where we share this planet with. And I think, you know, you say cannabis is, you know, is the great organizer. It's the great teacher, I think.
Yes.
Cannabis is always teaching us, and, you
Yes.
know, and other plant medicines too.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I only use cannabis very sparingly now, and I'm on a cleanse from it right now, but I will be using it again in a ceremonial state. I want to approach it as I approach my hape practice. I use this shamanic tobacco snuff that's, you know, blown up the nose, you know, and meditative. It's a meditative tool, and DMT. You know, same thing. I'm going to approach cannabis like that, where I cleanse myself, I cleanse my area, and then I take cannabis in and I sit with it. Rather, I used to just smoke cannabis and then I do the dishes, and that's cool too. But that's going to be my next foray, is to approach cannabis with a more ceremonial viewpoint. And I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that's great.
Well, since you
That's
mentioned
great.
it, I'll bring up the fact Nikki and I are part of a group called Namaste, and Namaste is a Hindu greeting. I recognize the divine in you, and so we put cannabis with it. And it's a group where we use cannabis in a ritual way, and we have a creed and this sort of thing. And it's basically, it's been a Zoom event for the last year or so, but we would have gatherings of 20, 30 people. And they would be quite profound gatherings, and just taking cannabis as a sacrament.
Love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
So
beautiful.
I'm just looking around at everybody who's here. I feel like a lot of you might be veterans. I don't know that about all of you, but I know Wilbur is there. I don't know about anyone else. I'm just curious if anyone else has anything to say. Yeah, Wade is. And, you know, if you guys have anything you'd like to add to this, maybe to say about your experience of how cannabis has helped you through any of this, or mushrooms or anything else. Yes, right. Wilbur, tell us.
Unmute yourself. Yeah, there you go.
Hey, Colin. Thank you so much. I appreciate this. I'm battling the VA right now, trying to go back to school, and they basically told me it's not how do you put it? It's not an all-you-can-eat buffet. So this is how you get treated, you know, after giving up your health and family and all the other things. But my question is, when you shut off your love valve to your soul, when did it come back? And how did you get it to come back? Are you holding it? Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Namaste.
Thank you. And thank you for your vulnerability with that. You know, I know that it's hard to even talk about those things, and I can hear the pain in your voice. And I want you to know that I empathize and I resonate that pain. My soul started to open back up when I started to truly be kind to myself, and in turn be kind to others. It was a simple shift in consciousness of, you know, a lot of times as veterans, as men, as women, as human beings, as Americans in particular, we push all our well-being and all of our, you know, the kindness that we need to be showing to ourselves to the side in order to get a job done or press forward or pay our bills. And when you start to dissolve some of those, obviously you don't want to just starve, but you know, when you start to dissolve some of those needs and outside forces that are dragging you through the mud, and you start to take breaths, take time, process things, be kind to yourself, no matter what that looks like. I always tell veterans, and in particular, like, you know, grief is a thing we deal with all the time. Grief, not just grief for losing loved ones, but, you know, grief for losing the time that we spent in service. And it's important for us to grieve that time. And when you grieve that time, you don't judge yourself for how you grieve it. If you're not hurting yourself, if you're not hurting others, you allow yourself to grieve. And that kind of process was very beneficial to me in opening my soul to love. And, you know, thank you. As far as the VA goes, you know, if you reach out to me, we have some good resources that I can try to put you in touch with. My email is at veteranswalkandtalk.com, or Colin, COLIN, at veteranswalkandtalk.com. And, you know, we have some good veteran service officers in our organization that we can try to help you out with retaining your educational benefits. I'd be happy to help you with that. And thank you again for your vulnerability. It means a lot.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Willow's a wonderful singer, by the way.
I know, thank you. Yeah, she's found her voice in the last few weeks, man. She was a silent baby, and now it's constant. So
That's cute. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that was quite a question, Wilbur.
Wow,
I must
really,
say
yeah.
that was really something. I really felt that from you. Yeah, Wilbur's up in Maine, so I don't know if you've started a section up there in Maine yet, but maybe you need to.
Wilbur, let's
Yeah.
go. Give me an email if you got veterans in that area. We are at this point opening the doors to all people to try to do this where they want. We are not discriminating. There's a lot of temptation to brand and make money and all that stuff, and we're past all that. I'm going to do that with my writing and my public speaking and that kind of stuff. But Veterans Walk and Talk, we're trying to bring it to every corner of this country that we possibly can as soon as we can, because we've seen how much it helps. So I look forward to hearing from you, Wilbur, and hang in there, brother.
I'm ready for a long walk.
There you go. Start right now. I'm in San Diego. You'll get here in a week or so. I'll give you some mushrooms.
If I can have a
That'd
big
be great.
Swami, I can be there in 3 days.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. Come and get it, Wilbur. Absolutely.
Well, you pass by here on your way and we'll load you up.
There you go.
Please.
There you go. Jack speaks about your property and what you do all the time, and it sounds just like an amazing place. Beautiful.
We're very blessed.
Yeah,
very
we're blessed
Yes.
to have this
Yeah.
place. We always refer to it as a sanctuary.
Yes.
It's a healing place and a place where people can come together and meet. And we've had any number of people come and drop their addictions through,
Amazing.
you know, just physical labor and as much cannabis as they can possibly smoke. So
There you go.
it's just one of the, and when they come and we don't even know that's what they're doing. You know, they're
Right.
here for 2 weeks. Say, oh, by the way, I just went cold turkey 3 days before I got here. That sort of thing. It's like, oh, brother, here, I smoke another one.
Yeah, for sure. Well, bless you for taking that on. And I would love to, you know, see this property for myself sometime, maybe bring some veterans up there.
Oh, well,
Oh,
when
wanna
you're
meet
up
you
here,
there,
yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And we have veteran friends all over. What was that guy, Aaron, down in Marin
Oh,
County?
yeah, there are some veterans that are doing some
We've been working with
distribution
before.
companies and doing a few things in
You
the
talking about
cannabis
Aaron
world.
Newsom, Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance?
No,
Aaron
this was
Newsom?
Aaron, oh God, his
Oh, he
last
has a
name's
Greek
escaping me.
name. It's Greek
Yeah,
last name.
escaping me now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
there's some good people doing it. So wait, I'm
Oh, yeah.
wondering if you have any comments about this being a veteran as well. I know you have such deep wisdom.
Thank you, Nikki and Colin. Really great presentation and a very compelling story. I was in the Navy and had a pretty benign version of how military service can be, but I really responded. My heart opened when you started talking about the necessity of people recognizing that you have to take care of yourself, and the importance of you know, life and family and job and all of those things can seem so important And when you're in military service, yeah, you literally sign your life and your rights and everything else away in service to the country and the uniform and the unit. And yeah, regaining that, to use the other gentleman's comment about that heart valve connection. I really love that image because yeah, in order to practice the art of war and killing, you really do have to turn that off. You just have to suspend it. So bless up, Colin. I'm going to find out about taking walks with veterans here in our area, and wanted to check with you. I'll check in with you offline about another platform that I occasionally visit with that might love to have you on to chat about your work. So on that note, thank you, Swami and Nikki, for hosting this. And yeah,
Well, I
really
just want
love
to
the
point
idea
out
of
that
taking
Wade is a fantastic cannabis grower and an amazing tincture and salve maker. He makes some very special stuff for various people in the most pure conditions. And as you can tell from his attitude, he puts a blessing on it that is comes straight from nature and from the heart. So I want to thank you, Wade, for all the wonderful, and he's one of the people who helped to bring CBD cultivars to the United States. Some of it came through Switzerland. And so Wade is one of the people who created Harlequin as a
Oh, wow.
CBD. So he's OG. He's one of the real ones, the legacy, and he's been very active up in Nevada County as well, and working with the board of supervisors and so on. So thanks to you, Wade, and dear friend of ours, and love you, brother.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
yeah,
Wade.
Back at you.
Great to meet
Yeah.
you.
you know, whatever we
Colin.
can do to help your cause, I would love to be able to contribute to that. I mean, certainly come up here, bring some veterans with you, whatever. We got lots of land to walk on.
Yeah, really.
And whatever, you know,
I'm gonna
it's
hold you
just,
to that.
okay, good. I hope you do,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
really important work that you're doing. You know, you guys have put your life on the line for what you believe to be true. And I respect that. And this is, you know, being a warrior is about as ancient as any profession. It probably as long as prostitution. I'd say they're in the same range there. And it's just really to be commended that you're trying to come around the other side of that and find peace in your heart and share that. So I just can't thank you enough.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an absolute privilege. I'm humbled to sit with you guys and learn from you. And I would be so pleased and grateful to ever come and bring some veterans to your beautiful property. That would be an amazing experience. And I want to say,
Great.
Wade, thank you for sharing what you shared. And if I may, just one thought came to me while you were talking, is that when we're in the military, Wade, my brother, like, it's 100% ego all the time, whether or not you're steering a ship or shooting down, enemies. You have to operate on 100% ego. I'm the best. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. But that's not the ego that we want to embrace. We want to embrace the part of our ego that teaches us that we are worthy, and we are worthy of care and acceptance and love and all these things, not just go, go, go. I have to go, go, go. So, when you said that, that really just came to me, and I'm going to share that with our group on Sunday. And I definitely would love to connect with you. And I appreciate both veterans' willingness to be vulnerable on here. That's what it's all about. So thank you, Wade. Thank you. And thank you guys so much. This has been just so beautiful. I get nervous before going on these things, and then I meet people like you guys, and I feel just, enlightened and humbled. So thank you so much.
Well, keep spreading that word.
Thank
Colin.
you so much, Colin.
Really.
And I also, that word vulnerability came up, and, you kind of bared your soul a bit. And so that's one of the things that when we share that, we can share that burden of all those things that were done, and that we can liberate those. And what kept coming to my mind through this whole thing was like, there's a war god in most ancient cultures. When they have many gods, there's always a god of war, right? And then if there's only one God, then that God works as a God of war too. And I kind of wonder, well, why has the human society created a god of war? And why does that god of war get celebrated? And I don't have an answer for that. I'm not saying I know the answer to that. I'm just wondering that we have this construct that enables us to create the warrior hero. And the key thing, is that we have to convince the mothers to let their children go to make war. But it's the old white-haired men who make that decision. But they always have to convince the mothers. And so there's something about our society that has this war god, and we now know how to transcend that. It's just we have to live it, as you say, through loving vulnerability and kindness. And that's our path.
Well said. And that's a lot of good food for thought. And I would only say what comes to mind is those things are reflective of what's within us as human beings. And if there's a war within us, there's going to be a war in our gods. And that's, if there's peace in our hearts, then there's peace in our gods. So we're on our way. We'll figure out a way to change, hopefully.
Well, that's our goal. That's our mission. So thank you so much, Colin.
Thank you.
To see you soon.
Thank you, guys.
And everyone else on this broadcast, when you want to reach out, you can support Colin on his website. What is it?
VWAT, right?
Yeah.
Veteranswalkandtalk.com. That's right.
All right.
Okay. That's okay. Good.
Blessings to all of you.
Thank you so much.
Have a great evening, and share the spirit.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you so much. Thanks, Jack. Love you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack. Peace and love to all, huh?
Okay,
Thank you.
Yeah.
okay, Will.
Bye.